What's the difference between a QRP and then an EQRP? Is what makes it enhanced?
So basically, there are options with retirement accounts. As you said, most people by default they have a 401k, and that's where most people start. They start with a 401k, 457, 403b. These are all different types of qualified plans. A TSP, thrift savings plan, it's a federal government thing. These are all QRPs. Qualified retirement plan just means it's a tax shelter. It's part of the tax code that says there are tax benefits. So an EQRP, the Enhanced Qualified Retirement Plan, is a unique thing that only we do, that allows you to have control of your retirement money in a checkbook where your money is protected from liability, from vultures. I mean, there are people that are already suing Princess for the coronavirus. So if you don't think you're going to get
Oh,
sued and at some point, then you're crazy if you're in America. Like, this is the land of opportunity and lawsuits. So, or maybe it's lawsuits from opportunity from lawsuits. I don't know. Anyways, the point is that there's options to be able to have control of it. And the EQRP gives you that power to be able to invest. All sorts of retirement accounts, these QRPs, qualified plans, do give you access to tax benefits, but they don't give you control and they don't give you protection. And a lot of people get stuck because they have employees. So they're like, well, I don't really have any options. I have to have a 401k with stocks. And I'm like, no, you don't. An EQRP allows you to have employees and buy things like real estate, buy precious metals, buy loans, almost anything you can think of, you can have inside of a retirement account. And in fact, there's ways to do it where it's tax-free forever, not just growing tax-free, but distributing, pulling the money out tax-free, because there's a Roth EQRP. So,
Okay.
I mean, really what this comes down to is paying taxes is a choice. You guys remember when our president famously was debating Hillary and she said, he doesn't pay taxes. That's why he doesn't want to do his return and show it. And he's like, that's because I'm smart.
yeah, I remember
right?
watching that very
Yeah.
specifically.
No, and my friends, they play that clip when they do presentations and it cracks me up. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? The tax code is set up. Anybody listening to this can change their tax rate. If you change your facts, you can change your tax. That's what Tom Wheelwright says. Great quote. And that, I mean, it's the tax code is there. It's not like, ooh, it's in a black box, you can't get to it. You literally just have to say, okay, I'm going to use it. And one of the things that people do is they play tax advisor, or they do their own taxes and they go, I can do this. My dad used to do his tax forms, his returns, with a pencil. And I was like, Dad, why don't you have an accountant? He's like, oh, I got this. And I'm like, well, that's pretty stupid when I looked at it in retrospect. But people just, they're like, they're cheap. And when you're cheap, you're going to get dumb advice because it's the advice in your head. And how much do you know about taxes? I teach a lot of accountants about retirement stuff because it's a nuanced part of the tax code. There's like 70,000 pages of tax code. Nobody knows all of that. Nobody. Like, I don't care who you are. And so you got to have a team around this stuff. And the reason you have a team is because you're going to spend way less on them than you are on taxes. And it's just, I mean, that's just math. Like, so the reason that businesses go and spend millions of dollars with lobbyists in Washington, D.C. is because they get billions of dollars in subsidies. It's a pretty good return. Like J. Paul Getty talked about this. Best return you're ever going to make is in political influence. And and what that results in is a lot of tax benefits that you get written for you. So just think about that. This tax code is written by the wealthy. Why not use it for yourself? It's there.
Yeah, I've it's one of something else I've heard that I've really glommed onto myself because I was the same way. I've growing up in my stages, I've always sort of taken it one chunk at a time, and I was always like, oh, I'll learn taxes one day. You know, I TurboTax. I just fill in boxes, you know, and it's easy. And then it got to the point where it's like, now I have the family, I have kids, I need to be a little bit more wise with where the money is being taxed, how it's being taxed, what I'm paying in taxes, how I could reduce that so that I could better provide for my family. So, yeah, I completely agree.
And there's, just to be clear, this is not, hey, I'm just going to hire people and abdicate responsibility. There's a big difference between delegating and abdicating. And a lot of people, if anything, they abdicate and they go, it's like having a financial advisor or somebody where you say, well, I don't know. I'm just going to hand my money to them. And then they decide it's their money. I mean, we run into this all the time. Advisors and custodians, they're like, well, no, you're too stupid. Don't take this money. You can't take this money because you're too stupid. And this is the attitude of the industry. And so what you have to do is you have to say, okay, first off, it's my damn money. and I'm going to take responsibility for it. No, it's not yours. And I'm going to take total responsibility for it. So I'm going to learn about it. And it doesn't mean you're going to become an expert in taxes. It means you do things like read Tom Wheelwright's book, Tax-Free Wealth.
Tax-free wealth.
Super smart book. He's like, the guy's brilliant. And it doesn't take that long. You spend a few hours reading this book, and now you have something to talk about with your freaking accountant. Otherwise, you're like, I don't know. I mean, that's the end of your contribution. I don't know. So at least start with something and then have a team. And then that's really what everybody needs to be doing, not becoming a tax attorney or an accountant, but get the basic language and a core understanding so that you're not just, otherwise the number is 70%. You guys, that's the number that we're going to give away in our lifetime to the government's taxes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
70% or zero if you play a different game. And it is a game. I mean, let's be honest. It's just a big game. It's like Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. Play the game, understand how the rules work, and then you can start applying it to your life.